Okay, so guys, now we're going to put the extruder onto the plate. So we're going to open it up. You've got your geared step motor. You've got your fixing screws. You've got the extruder. We're going to install the extruder first and then the motor on next to it. So what we need first, we need, these are M520s and the aluminium spacers. There we go. Okay, so here we have the X plate, which the extruder gets installed on. It's going to go in these two holes as far as I know. And so what we'll do is we're going to try and get these screws through the plate. So the best thing to do is put them on the Allen key, and then it should slot in just through that one there, and then one more through that guy there. So now you want to take your aluminium spacers, or hold in the back, slide the aluminium spacer on. Same thing on the other one. Just watch these screws like to fall back through the other side. Okay, and now you've got your two screws on the side there, on the back of the extruder. They just get lined up. So screw a little bit in the one, and then screw the other one a little bit in. Just to get them so that the screws don't pop out, then you can put it against there and tighten them up. And there you go. Okay, so here you have your motor, extruder motor. You're going to need the other two M3 screws. So I know they're M3. They are M325s as far as I think. And what you want to do is, so there's only two holes that these fit through. And they go in this side here, come out there. And the same thing on the bottom one. And then the way you want to orientate it, I mean, it's all personal preference. But just to get the wires neatly, I like to have my extruder motor's wires pointing up. And then you just should be able to tighten these screws. They should line up fairly well. Okay, so now both screws are in. Okay, so that's your extruder mounted. Now I'm just going to show you, I'm going to reposition the camera and show you a trick, because you've got to get the spur gear, which is on the extruder promoter, to line up with the bearing inside. So we'll do that now, so we don't have to do it later. Okay, so here we're just going to make sure that the pulley the tooth gear on the motor is aligned with the ball bearing. So you want to take this and unscrew this screw here until it pops out. Then this front part should flip up. Just get some light in there. Just going to put this screw here so you can hold it up. Okay, so you should be able to see that spur gear. Just get it to focus. Should be able to see that spur gear in there. Ours is, you just want to make sure that the middle of it is aligned at the middle of the holes coming down through those black filament guards. Ours look pretty much spot on, so we'll leave it like that. Otherwise, if it's not, you just want to take the motor off, and then there's a set screw on the shaft. You want to unscrew that, just adjust it a little bit, whichever way you need to go, and then reassemble it. Tighten that guy back up. Okay guys, next up we've got the Z-axis motor mount assembly. You've got your CNC B12, your B12 bag, and your X-axis step motor. Your Z-axis step motor. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to need, we'll start off with the pulleys. You got your 2 pulleys. Just take all of these out of the bag. You're going to need the 2 M520s. You're going to need the 2 hex bolts, 2 washers, and that's it. Okay, so with this one here, it gets a bit tricky because you've got to get the pulleys to line up with the gear pulley on the motor. But we'll go ahead and install these first anyway. So now you want to put the screw through the pulley, then the brass bushing, and then the hex nut. You want it to just tighten, and then you screw this guy into the frame, or the plate, I should say. Okay, so that's not turning smoothly, so you want to back it off, or tighten it down fully. Back it off like a quarter of a turn. While holding that, you're going to get an Allen key or a spanner if you got one, and just actually I'm just going to loosen this off a bit so it's easier to tighten. So that's fully tightened there. If you want to loosen it off, spin that nut backwards. There we go. Don't know if you can hear that spinning. Spinning nice and freely. And we do the same on the other side. You can see that both, they're barely any play, probably a quarter of a millimeter. That's okay, just because it's more important that they spin. And then we want to put this toothed geared pulley. Can never get this plastic off. Loosen up the grub screws. Okay, now this one, because these, let's see, get this to focus. Because these pulleys are so close, there's a very small gap there. Rather than piling a whole bunch of shims in there, we'll just take this guy and you're going to put the geared pulley on upside down. Bit of plastic in there. So you're going to line it up with one of the pulleys, one of the grub screws up with the flat end. Like that. And then you're going to tighten the flat end one only for now, because we're going to have to adjust it. Just like that. So you can see it's on, technically on upside down. And then we're going to install the motor onto the So you want to put it so that the geared pulley is on the same side as the pulleys. And then you take your little M3/8. Get your Allen key. There should be 4 of them. Okay, now what you want to do is, you can see that these pulleys and that gear pulley there don't line up too well. So we will loosen up the grub screw. Then you'll slide it just so that try to put it on the right way. It seems like it's a little bit better than the last one I assembled. Okay, so now that seems like it aligns better there with the right way around. So then you're going to tighten up the grub screw. And the other grub screw. And then you've got your Z-axis plate all assembled. Install the T-nuts first. So you put them in. You want to put them in that side there, so the T-nut's on the same side as the motor. And it's just like that. Okay, so here we are at this is the top right hand side of the printer. The reason I mount the the Z-axis motors here is because when wiring, or when you mount it in the middle, all this extra wire here is just unnecessary. So my control box is going to be on the right hand side of my printer. So all the wires are going to come running down the right hand side. If you do on the left, just switch it over to the left. You know, line up your T-nuts here into the first groove. Make sure that they are in fact tightened. They are. Keep this square. Okay, now once you've got it in position, you can tighten these pretty much all the way. Just give them a bit of a torque. Okay, so now you want to grab your Z-axis belt here. And I don't know if you can tell in the video, but you just want to thread it through so that the teeth are on the inside, around the gear pulley of the motor, and then just make sure there's enough slack, and then through the other one, just like that. Okay, so it should be coming from the Z-axis thing through the inside of the 2 pulleys, with the teeth facing the other pulley, and then around the axis motor, and then back through along the other side. Okay, now you want to loosen these M3 nuts that are holding the Z-axis motor in, just so that it can, and then slide it all the way forward so it gives you some slack. Then with these, you want to take the geared pulley on the Z-axis lead screws and make sure that the grub screws are loose. I'm going to feed the belt around it like that, and then you just want to make sure that you pull them tight. that the middle of the geared pulley is in line, perfectly horizontally aligned with the pulleys on the Z-axis motor. And then got them lined up there, then you just tighten up one of the grub screws, then you tighten up the other grub screw. Okay, so now that we've put the one geared pulley in place up here, we just want to synchronize the both Z-axis things so that the X-axis is perfectly level, and then we'll do the other one. So the way I like to do that is I want to spin these all the way down until they're about, I don't know, 30 centimeters or so. I'll get a tape measure, and then from the bottom of the support beams at the bottom, I'll just line it up and then measure it to the top, and then you just choose. So I'm going to choose 35 centimeters for this side here. I've just got to lower it a little. That's 35 centimeters there, and you do the same thing on this side here. We've got, that's a little bit high. And you got 35 centimeters there. So now they're it's 35 centimeters all the way across. You can even double check in the middle here. Just put it on the inside. And we've got pretty much exactly 35. Double check that side, 35. Double check that side. There we go. So now that those are all synchronized up, we will get back to the other side here. Okay, now again, this side here, you just want to take this geared pulley, slip the belt over it. There should be plenty of slack, and then you can have a guess on where it's going to be, because you're going to adjust it later once it's tightened. So we'll tighten it about there, just with a one grub screw, and then we'll move over to the motor. Now we're gonna, because we have these things loosened up, if we should be able to pull this all the way this side. And tighten these. Just want to double check these that the X-axis is still level. So we've still got 35. Still got 35. So this side has lowered a bit, so we're going to undo this pulley so it doesn't affect the other side. So that should be able to move nice and easy. Let's just double check this guy. 35. 35, below 35, so we want to raise it up. And you got 35 again. Okay. So we'll make sure that it's aligned. Looks a bit high. That's about right. And then you will tighten that guy. And you pull this just so that you can see the other grub screw. And then we'll tighten that guy. Now you should be able to move the Z-axis. I mean the X-axis is fairly simple, but just if you move this around, you can see it moves fairly easily, nice and synchronized, and it works. Okay, so now we're going to install the hot plate, which is this guy over here. He sits on there. Now in your bag of screws labeled heat bed, this one here, hot bed screw. You've got you've got 4 springs, 4 M3 bolts, a spacer, not sure what that's for, and 4 thumb screws. So what we want to do, lift this guy up, drop in the 4 M3 countersunk bolts. Just like that. Then you want to place a spring between each of the bolts. Just get it to line up with the hole. Like so, and the same with the back ones. And then you just want to, with these thumb screws, I think what I like to do is compress them, put the thumb screw on, and then screw the thumb screw just on enough so that the head just pokes out the other side. Do that with all of them. And then you've got your heated bed installed. So now that, because they screwed in just pretty much the exact same amount, that should be relatively level.